Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Real Rugby Only. Yesterday was a very busy day with rugby, but today I want to talk about a few things regarding the South Africa versus Wales game. So I talked about it yesterday on the channel, and there were quite a lot of mixed reviews. So let's talk about it. One thing that's important to note is I love Springbok rugby. I'm French and English, and some people were saying, "Hey, you need to decide who you support." No. I'm half French, I'm half English. I've lived in both countries. I've been raised with both cultures. I love both countries. If France play against England, well, that's another problem. We'll talk about that down the line, but usually I root for England. I usually root for England because that's where rugby comes from. That's where rugby was, originated. And I'm kind of that kind of fan that wants to say it's coming home. The Springboks beat Wales 43-0, and there were quite a few comments talking about how badly South Africa played, how disappointed they were watching that game. You have to understand one thing. You have to just zoom out a little bit. A few years ago, when South Africa played Wales, it was a very well-fought contest. They played a 3-test series in 2022, I believe, yes. The first game was fought until the dying seconds, where Damon Willemse scored a tough kick to make it 32-29 on the day. So South Africa won the first test. The second test was a hard-fought battle also, I believe in Bloemfontein. 12-13, Wales beat South Africa by 1 point, and the series was tied 1-1, and then the third game went to South Africa fairly comfortably compared to the first two. So, looking back at that, when you beat a team 43-0, when you beat Wales 43-0, although Wales are no longer the Wales that they used to be a few years ago, your first reaction should be, job done, good game, and positivity, right? You can't be negative when you beat a tier 1 team like Wales 43-0, albeit that they're not going through the best of times. South Africa have never been stronger than they are today, and Wales, in recent times at least, have never been as bad as they were yesterday. So 43-0 is still 43-0. Last time round it was 73-0. You've played against Wales, I'm talking to you South African fans, you've played against Wales for 160 minutes in a couple recent games. And the combined score was 116-0. There's no reason to look for anything negative, really. Although we can, and I will, because, just like I would be, if I was, talking about France or England, I would look for the things that we can improve on. And that's probably how Rassie Erasmus is thinking too. Okay, we won 43-0, but now we've got Argentina away and we've got the All Blacks 4 times in a row. So we're going to have to do better, because this is not going to be Wales. 43-0. 6 tries? Was it 6 tries? No, it was probably 7. Yeah, 7 and 4 conversions. The Boks, albeit they were playing in Durban, a wet surface, humidity, slippery ball, passing sort of a oval-shaped soap around is never easy, but you still managed to score 7 tries against a Wales team that gave everything that they had. Not good enough on the day to cause any issues to the Boks. I feel sad for Wales because, playing 160 minutes against the Springboks home and away and conceding over 100 points and not scoring a single one is tough. So I want to acknowledge that. I want to send my respect to Wales, who have travelled to Argentina and then have travelled to South Africa and probably didn't want to play that game. Probably did not want to play that game. Probably thought, hey, we're in July, we've been busy all season, and now we have to go and face a stacked Springbok team in Durban mid-July. I'm pretty sure if you gave them the option, they might have just, kindly refused to play that game. But they showed up. They gave what they had on the day. It was not good enough. And the Springboks, albeit with a different team than usual, did the job. Okay, 43-0. Please, there's no need to be negative. The scoreline is there. The result is there. Now, what could the Springboks improve on? Because there's not much I can say about Wales. They're really not going through a good time, and there's not much I can talk about on their side. They were very unclinical, all right? They tried the wrong things. There was a moment where the ref, had blown 4 or 5 penalties against South Africa and told Thomas Williams, whether he was okay if Andrew Brace had a chat with the Boks, maybe a yellow card was coming, and maybe they could have gone for touch or maybe tried something different. No, they quick tap and tried to score by beating the Boks, physically 5 meters out from the line. I can't remember many teams scoring against the Boks by doing that. Boks have one of the best defences when it comes to their 5-metre line. Probably not the best way of trying to score against them. What Wales could have done is maybe just try something a little bit different, try and create some spaces out wide. But anyway, they didn't do that. Let's move on. South Africa, you can't really blame South Africa for knocking the ball on because, Wales did too, right? If they knocked the ball on way more than Wales, but Wales managed to score and they were sort of trailing, then yes, I suppose it could be a problem. But look, it was wet. I'm pretty sure if the All Blacks are playing the Boks in Durban again, I don't know if they are. I don't know if there's a game in Durban, and it's slippery, etc. I think it will affect both teams, right? It didn't just affect the Boks. It was a very tough game to score a lot of points. I think that on a drier surface, it might have been 86-0 times 2. I don't know. The Boks played really well, but the conditions didn't allow them to score more points, to test new things out that maybe Rassie Erasmus would have liked. It was definitely sort of handicapping. But as I said, the problem is with wet conditions like that is you can't really decide up front. If the Boks play against England or France or New Zealand or Ireland, a tough opponent in the quarters, semis or final of a World Cup and it's raining, well, it is how it is. You've got to figure out a way of winning a game when, maybe some areas of the game aren't going to be played as much whereas because of the ball being slippery. So the rain is the rain, right? It's just part of the game. What South Africa did well, I believe, is keep Wales at 0. Understand that keeping Wales, who have scored 35 versus Fiji, 21 versus Argentina away, and that regularly put on some decent performances in the Six Nations, albeit they're not at their best, keeping them at 0 for over 160 minutes is not easy. So first of all, Springboks defence, top notch in my opinion. That's one area of the game where they're always going to be strong and they're always going to cause issues to their opponents. I wonder if the All Blacks are going to score many points against them. What kind of scoreline are we expecting for the Tests versus New Zealand? Because South Africa usually score a lot of points. But if New Zealand can't, well, obviously they're going to lose. If New Zealand want to win, either they need to score more points or they need to keep South Africa below a certain amount of points. You feel like if New Zealand keeps South Africa below 25 points, they have a chance. I doubt that there's going to be a game where it's going to be Springboks 36, New Zealand 38 or something. I think that if New Zealand want to win a test or two in South Africa, they're going to have to keep South Africa, below 25 points. If South Africa scored 20, 25 points, New Zealand could score more. But I don't think that if you let South Africa score 30, 40, it might just be too far for New Zealand. So the defence is something they can build on. The Springbok defence is class. They know what they're doing. Their attack was a bit dodgy at times, but once again, new players playing together, not easy. Vusi Moyo and Fassi had arguably a bit of a shocker. But they're allowed to. They're allowed to. Every player goes through that, especially Moyo. He's 20, right? Not easy to play your first test against Wales in those conditions. I think he did all right. A bit of good stuff, but also a bit of bad stuff. But that's how you learn, right? You can't expect to play your first test and have a brilliant outcome. I think that's actually worse than having a bad outcome. Having what Moyo did is there was some good, there was some bad, but the fact that it wasn't a great performance overall, I think is a good thing because he'll learn from it. If he had a great first test, maybe he'll have the wrong sentiment. So yeah. Anyway, I think I think South Africa. You guys should take this game as sort of a good game overall, right? There's no need to be too negative about it. 43-0 under tough conditions against a tough opponent. I'm sure that the South Africans really respected Wales. And look, they did the job. Good on you, Boks. And now bring on Argentina. By the way, I think that's a bit silly to travel to Argentina for a one-off, then come back. I'm sure that South Africa could get tested against other opponents in their own country. You play, even like if South Africa played against South Africa's B side, I mean, that'd be silly maybe because you come out with some injuries. But I'm sure that there's ways of testing yourself against big teams without having to travel all the way to Argentina for a one-off game. New Zealand, of course, are playing the URC provinces. Going to be very interesting. Can't wait for that series. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. Have a wonderful Sunday, everyone. And all the best.